Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. We've got a very cool guy who works with Soundtrap, which we'll tell you all about. Plus he's a pan drum drummer, and we're going to show you some stylings from this particular guy. His name is Taylor Haun. We'll introduce him to you in just a second. But first, we told you last week about the pedal movie. It's brought to you by Reverb, and it is super cool. Dave is a guitar player, and he is absolutely loving it. What I didn't know, and this movie will teach you, is that effects pedals have played historic roles in music, and the pedal movie chronicles all of it. Stories about Jimi Hendrix and the wah-wah pedal, Peter Frampton and the talk box, Stevie Wonder and the Mutron, interviews from Dweezil Zappa to Steve Vai, Steve Albini to Sarah Lipstate, Billy Corgan, and a whole bunch more. The past, present, and future of the pedal and its seminal role it's played in music. Go to thepedalmovie.com or catch it on iTunes, Google Play, or Vudu. It is a very cool thing. You'll be very surprised. Good stuff, Reverb. The boys at 1500 Sound Academy got a lot of amazing things going on. Online offerings, opening back up for in-studio classes, asynchronous learning so you can learn at your pace. We'll be showing you the progress on their Unreal Studio facility, one that you can learn at. We'll have recording studios, Atmos rooms, sound stages, outdoor stage, and so much more. Pensado's Place is going to provide some of our guests as speakers so you can learn from the best. We will show you the studio as it nears completion. And we're going to follow some of the folks who have attended, graduated, and now are doing great things. There's simply nothing else like it. Learning that cuts to the chase and stuff that you can learn and use immediately. Go take a virtual tour. Tell them Pensado sent you. 1500 Sound Academy. It is really dope. Hit us on our socials, like and subscribe, click notify so you miss nothing. So as we promised you before, you're going to meet Taylor Haun. You're going to learn about Soundtrap, and you're going to hear his stylings on the pan drum. Here is Austin's own Taylor Haun. Taylor, welcome.
Thanks, Herb. Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Great to see you, actually.
So tell us what Soundtrap is.
Yeah, so Soundtrap is a easy-to-use DAW, cloud-based. And probably the big things are that collaboration is a highlight for us. You can imagine like any DAW or maybe GarageBand and Google Docs coming together. So Soundtrap's on all platforms and can be used to produce music or podcasts.
The thing that I found fascinating was, one is in the cloud, so the use factor is across the board.
Yeah.
Beginners, teachers, students, pros, non-pros. You don't have to have plugins. You don't have to. But then the way you guys have thought this through, it is so flexible. You know, there's so many things. Give us applications, the different ways it can be used.
Yeah, so I work primarily in Soundtrap for education, working with schools. And even within that, there's so many different uses. So sometimes it's like fourth grade English class, and they just like want to record something real quick. Not even a podcast. They just want to do a quick audio recording, and they've never used a tool before. So cool. Use Soundtrap, set it up, use something like that. Then sometimes it's like maybe like a middle school band recording a virtual ensemble, a bunch of different tracks, you know, adding other tracks to play along to, something like that. It might be for recording like that. It could be just production. It could be just a producer making a beat in Soundtrap, either with loops, software instruments, recording, just like any other DAW, you know. And then there's like songwriting applications. So what I use it for a lot of times in some of the groups that I work with is we'll start ideas in Soundtrap and record, because people might be in Logic or Pro Tools or like a mix of them. So Soundtrap's like our common place, and we can just send a link really quick. So if we're in a WhatsApp group, we can say, hey, here's the link, go add your part, right? And that's like our collaboration space. That's one way that it could be used, you know. So it's just like any tool, or like any advanced tool, like you can use it a bunch of different ways, but that's how I've seen it being used.
And to a point that you made, Taylor, I'm finding we met through an education space through Chad Ricefield, and then I talked to Leon Lamb in Stockholm. I'm seeing the education place morph, where they're saying, oh, there's not music in schools. Well, let's combine these programs, dance and storytelling and production, and it goes to VR and gaming and stuff. And I think there's a new hybrid emerging, hopefully. And that's why I'm so excited about this episode, because you don't, everybody is not going to drill down into Pro Tools or Ableton yet. They need a gateway drug, kind of.
We all.
And it's I just had one. But I commend you guys in terms of the way you thought through it. What is Soundtrap's relationship to Spotify?
In relationship to Spotify, Soundtrap kind of started separately as its own entity, although both are based in Stockholm, Sweden. Soundtrap, I think, got its start about 2013, really like 2013, 2014. And then the education side of things, 2015. And then 2017, Soundtrap was purchased by Spotify. And so nowadays, what that allows us to do is just, have those resources. And Spotify, as you probably know, is like very big on podcasting. And so are we. Like, a lot of education users are using Soundtrap for podcast creation. So I think there's like a synergy there in terms of the interest in podcasting, especially bringing podcasting to like a newer audience that might be fresher and, not audio engineers. So a lot of things are pretty independent, but we're able to kind of tap into Spotify to, gain resources and connections.
How does somebody find Soundtrap?
Soundtrap.com.
Is it expensive?
No, so it's so pricing is different depending on if it's education or a consumer. If you're just buying for yourself, it's freemium, so it's free to use. Then if you want certain extra features and loops and stuff, then you pay $8-10 a month, depending on the plan you want, depending where you live. And then for schools, it's like a per seat basis. So let's say you wanted 50 seats for your 50 students. It's $5 per seat per year. Right. So $250 for the year, and 50 kids can use it.
Amazing.
And of course, if you're a bigger district, we've got people, you can talk to Chad and other people to talk more specifics on that type of thing.
Got it.
But yeah, it's pretty cheap overall, right?
Oh, absolutely. Talk about some of the features in Soundtrap, because there's different features in it that really are an aid to those who want to do storytelling, make music, podcast, or whatever.
Sure. You can create using loops. So we have a built-in loop library. Check those things out, sound effects. You can create by recording audio, plug a microphone in or use your built-in mic or interface, whatever. You can record with software instruments, plug in a MIDI controller, or just, play on the screen. And another tool that goes along with that is especially relevant for podcasting is we have a transcription tool. So I can go in and record my conversation. And then afterwards I go and say, transcribe. Soundtrap thinks for a second, spits out a text transcript, and then I can go and edit that text transcript. And that will also edit, like if I chop something out of the text, it'll chop the audio too. So that's very useful for podcast creators, but we're also finding that teachers are using that as a tool in their classrooms in several different ways, especially for foreign language, because it can transcribe in whatever languages the studio can run in. Transcribe in. And then you also can share directly to Spotify on a consumer account. So if I make a podcast, I don't know how to produce it, I can say, boom, share to Spotify, and it'll publish to Spotify.
Wow.
And then of course, like you can download a track regular, as an MP3 or a WAV file. You can export either just like the finished track or stems as well. Like if you want to send stems to Pro Tools or something. Yeah, I mean, we've always been about making things easy to learn and simple to use. So some of our instruments, like we have a patterns beat maker, people would know that as like a step sequencer, but that's a really good tool for kids, especially when they're just getting started, because they can just like plug in beats and then boom, they just made something.
On the Spotify side, do you have to have a subscription to Spotify? And if you do, is there an additional cost for putting stuff up and taking down?
So yeah, as of right now, they're totally separate. So a Soundtrap subscription is separate from your Spotify, and then in order to publish on Spotify, like if you want to publish your podcast, there's no extra fee or membership for that. That's just like a feature of one of the consumer plans that you can do.
Okay.
On the education front, I would assume the approach is global, right? So languages aren't barriers and so on and so forth. Whatever you speak in, you get back. How are you finding the adoption rate? Are people discovering, starting to use, giving you back information?
So, I mean, we've been going strong for a couple of years, since like 2015, but last year, as you might expect, was a crazy year. So all schools shut down. What are they going to do? Not just music classes, but everybody. So yeah, we saw a huge influx of people come on board last year. And so like when it was early on in April, we were just like, okay, everyone free, please. Like, let's figure out how to do this. Everyone had free accounts, free trials. And then, but still, even since then, we've seen tons of schools starting to use it.
Right.
Some of them might go away after we go back to school and get a little bit back to normal. But definitely, I think one positive thing that's come out of it is people are realizing another way to work and other ways to create and other ways to do their music program. Yeah. So I think in many cases it will stay and kind of have a lasting impact. Have teachers also been giving you feedback and been positive about using it? Yeah, I mean, I've had a handful of teachers, like when they find it, they're just like so thankful because they didn't know what they were going to do. Imagine if like everything fell apart and you had no idea what you're going to do to teach. And then you find Soundtrap and it's built for schools and it checks all the boxes and like now they can do school. Right. But yeah, so I've had quite a few people just be really, really grateful that they've found a tool like this. Well, good on you.
Forgive my ignorance, but so now you've learned, you've created. Is there a next step where you have something like a DistroKid where you can get it out into the public for to earn a living with what you've just created? Yeah, I mean, it would be probably the same answer for anyone who just DistroKid. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. You guys are focused on the creation of and the tool stuff, distribution, other stuff is for other people. Right. But I think there's something in there to the point of like, and this is like a philosophy that I have in my teaching is as much as possible, the education version should be the same as the pro. Like if I'm teaching a student and he is becoming a music producer, he should be using the same tools as anyone else. So like he should use DistroKid, like that's, or he should use this tool, whatever it is. So I think that's important to treat them like pros. I don't know if this is a viable question, but what are some of the graduate numbers that you have? I mean, how many people have gone through the school completely and finished it? Let's give me a yearly number outside of 2000. Well, yeah, let's do 2020. In terms of people that have gone through the course or the certified educator course. Yeah. I don't know. The last time I checked, which was a couple months ago, was like 3,600 from like August through the end of the year. Something like that. And it's like, I don't know. So I'll look it up. I can look it up. But that's not a question worth looking at. But I was just a general number. Yeah. I mean, in terms of people using it, I know I can't go into specific numbers, but it's way huger than that. Just an explosion last year of new people coming onto the platform and new schools. The trend, and I'm on a couple of boards, the trend is clearly toward how to simplify things, remove friction, get people engaged in the process through apps and tools and so on and so forth. But, and not that we have the best chair to see everything. We have a pretty good one. This is a very complete and thought through ecosystem that really takes an advantage. It's amazing to me the scale of people that can use it, from user to teacher, how it can be used in so many different kind of mediums. You can do lessons and assignments and beats for somebody all in the same place. And I find that it's innovation that keeps us where we're all going and what we're supposed to do. And here's the key fundamental question that is so critical is, do you guys have a lot of musicians
actually working on this stuff like yourself, coding and doing things? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. I suspect you do.
Yeah. My guess is about half of everybody at Soundtrap these days is a musician. Before that, like in the early days, it was probably 75%. There are some amazing musicians in Soundtrap.
You can't have musicians over the money and the marketing. Like they got to be on the creation and the other kind of stuff. I say that half kiddingly. But it is an element we've seen in companies that do great stuff, an Isotope, for an example, or schools like a Blackbird or a 1500 Sound Academy or, the Abbey Road Institute. There are musicians in there doing those things and making sure the ethos is pure. And I think that's important, both being able to have tools that you use and be able to speak in a way that creative people speak and collaborate. You agree?
Totally. And that's how I kind of feel in my role is like, I'm a musician and an educator, and I try to always keep my ear to the classroom and like stay in tune with what's happening, in the classroom and make sure that we're playing authentically to that.
Absolutely. Now you're in Austin, right?
Yep.
A fabulous music city.
Absolutely.
I actually mentioned you to a serious music tech guy down there. I'll introduce you to after the show. He's excited to meet you. Does where you are inform your creativity and your, there's a vibe in music cities. Like when we go to Nashville, we change the moment we get off the plane until we get back on the plane. Austin's the same way, right? It just infuses you with creativity. Yeah.
I love Austin, and I think the music culture and community here is one of the main reasons I moved here. And so this group that I play with, Austin Samba, is this big, amazing Brazilian percussion group with drummers and dancers, like 100 people, legit like Rio Samba. And that's just like the most joyful, most beautiful thing. So, and then all the other bands I play in are like related to that. So it's like, for me, it all comes back to this very open, very like friendly community of music. And I think that's all scattered around Austin. Like through all the musical adventures I've, been on in Austin, like they're all just so open and collaborative. And so, for me, Austin live music just has like a very great soul to it, right? And very, very open, very friendly, very community based.
Oh, you're gonna do some video on that, bro.
Yeah.
If you guys get mad at me, let me know, because I'm fascinated by handpans. From the shape, it's pretty clear that my conspiracy theory guys are going to love it because aliens brought it. You can tell because it's in the shape of a flying.
Aliens are real.
Yeah, look over your right shoulder, guys. Yeah, clearly a flying saucer. That one was probably thousands of dollars. These things are amazing, and like we have it, digital versus analog, that's going to go on for millenniums being debated. Is there the same thing with the handpan? The handmade ones are better than the machine ones, and do you get more than one key on one? So that one, let's say is F sharp or something.
Yeah.
Do they give you like a minor third when you need, and maybe give you a couple extra notes in the key? And can you play modally on one? I mean,
right.
Your playing is really good. I mean, I have to say that because I don't know any other guy that plays one, but
thanks.
But it does it does what you want it to do. It really soothes you, and I emphasize the soothing part.
Yeah, that's what I've found.
Questions there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Rav. So these are Rav Vast. So the name of the company is Rav, and the instrument is a Vast. And it's a steel tongue drum, which is different than that one, which is like a true handpan or hang drum. I'll grab it real quick.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
better.
This is one you're probably more familiar with, right? These tone fields, it's hammered, and then those are cut. So those are tongues that are cut. So these usually cost more, but they're both so beautiful. They're just so different. Like, these have a shorter tone, and the Ravs just ring forever, which makes it, so nice, so relaxing.
Just for context, at the end of this, we'll have Taylor do something on the handpan.
Great. Play a little some.
When you get a student that is really not going to have the the tools, do you spend more time with that student than you would with a student that already knows a lot? And Herb and I've gone to a lot of schools, and they all have, you can tell that they have different levels of that equation, you know. And with Soundtrap, what's your philosophy?
Great question. Do you teach to this level or this level or this level? Hopefully all of the above. And that's what I think is very interesting about where we're starting to go and where we can go just in general in education, is like getting rid of the like move everybody through at the same rate and teach to the same level, and like allow more like customization and like mastery based learning. Quick a book, if anyone's interested, is a book by Sal Khan, the creator of the Khan School or the Khan Academy.
Yeah, K-A-H-N.
Yeah, Khan Academy is amazing. Yeah. But then they've taken that further and created a whole school out of it. So that, read the book if you want to learn more about it. But I think
I agree.
It, you know, is like, hopefully if we have Soundtrap and if we have tools where students can work on their own, they can work at their own pace, and we can set up the curriculum that's not like you must do X, Y, and Z, but it's like more of a like holistic approach that allows each student to work at their own pace and work with some of their own like intention and their own have choice in what they're working on.
That's great.
Little known fact, Khan Academy was about the inception of Pensado's Place, and I used a lot of where they were trying to go in trying to figure out what we would try to do. There was some connective tissue that informed me the thought about this, because the idea of being able to individualize, have people on their own track at their own time, was kind of the way I wanted us to be able to inform people, so that if you were a beginner or you were Tony Maserati, the show applied to you both, and you could find some way in that. And we continue to that day. So that was a great inspiration point for us, and also just where we're going now. That's why this tool is so important to me, and so important for people to know. And in our position from an education standpoint, and a commercial standpoint, you know, we thought it was important to talk about it and support it.
I kind of see Soundtrap as an accessible tool that has a low floor but a high ceiling, easy to get started, but it's actually pretty legit. That's what was my experience when I discovered it. I was like, oh wow, this solves a problem for me. This is actually, I expected it to be bad, and then it was really good.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, so I think that's pretty much it about the tool. I'm excited for where we're going in education, and I'm excited as a music educator in terms of like, what can it enable? If now we have, or, you know, rewind 20, 30 years, how hard was it to get studio time and all this gear and everything? And then now a kid can be on their phone, their school can give them Soundtrap, and now they can make anything.
Absolutely.
That is potential right there. And that is what's exciting to me, is that like, that's accessible, very powerful, accessible tools. Then when you put them with teachers, because I've also realized like it can't be done without the teacher. It's not like we create Soundtrap and it's all done. Like it needs teachers and people, you know, to like move things forward, but it's very exciting. It's a very exciting possibility for me, I think.
And during this whole episode, we've been showing some of the things and ways that the interface looks and applications and stuff, so people can see how simple it is and how smart it is. And I got to tell you, I am so happy to have discovered it. I can say to our audience, and Taylor's going to move to the drum now to show us stuff. You can go on and start moving, and I'll just riff over it. The cool part is I've now spoken to 3 or 4 or 5 in Soundtrap or involved with Soundtrap, all super cool. That tells you a lot about the companies that you deal with. You can get an indicator if they think about you, if they understand you, if they are you. So what you can see these are musicians who care about it. It's a global approach. They're making it simple. It's scary when I can go make music. I can go talk about it, but God knows you don't want to hear my mixes. But now I can.
You play piano.
Back in the day, I can still peck out a tune. So the fun part is that there's a whole lot of things available for you, for your arsenal, to go get better immediately, utilize it inside the music sphere or continuing outside of it. And all done by musicians like Taylor Haun, who's going to show us a bit about what he does.
Do you take requests? Freebird.
Here's Freebird, just for you, Dave.
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. Yeah, why you say you're not good? You're great. You're incredible.
I can improvise. It'll just take me a minute to learn Freebird. You know what I mean? On the pan.
Exactly.
That sound of the handpan is universal. I'm telling you, it's just.
I've never met a person that doesn't love the sound.
I know. I like it better than those little brass bowls that the monks use. Those sounded great, but
they're nice, but they're only one note, and they're usually not even like a note.
Yeah, and plus they have a long decay, and then the sound of that is primal. It comes from someplace. The liking of it comes from someplace that doesn't exist anymore in us, but yet it taps into that what it was. That's some stupid crap, but
I love that instrument. I love it. I love the sound.
I love the sound of it. I love the sound of it.
Just wanted to thank you, man, for coming on and for doing our thing.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
No, it is our pleasure. I think to find something so incredibly useful, also promulgated by such cool people, and really good for our audience, tells us where the business is going and the opportunities are going, and education, why that's still important. But education is getting cool. So there was a time when education was not cool. These are tools that will spring you forward in your career, and you can't beat that. We want to let people know. So I never stop learning. I don't ever think if you stop learning, you start going backwards.